Associates, this video explains some of the key tools inside of Microsoft Word that you may and will need for various projects in this class. So please follow along so you know where everything is at when it comes up. I have both the online and the desktop versions open on my screen so you can see the differences and how to work in each platform. First area we're going to explore that you possibly haven't looked at before is what we call the references ribbon, right? So you'll click up here on this tab and it opens our references tool. And so you'll see the references tab on both desktop and online. Inside of references, we have really key things to help speed up your workflow that you'll need for this class, including a table of contents. So we click on that. It gives you some options to automate your table of contents. Hit OK, and notice it says no entries found, and we'll explain why. On the online version, same thing, table of contents, and it will add that in there for you. We also have the option for footnotes, which you may or may not use. It just is a really nice, quick way to have that little footnote area, as well as endnotes for special kind of considerations, captions. We have our citation manager, which will be key, especially for the big report at the end of the semester. And then we have this tool for inserting captions, including inserting your table of figures and your basically table of tables. Oops. Table of tables and equations. Now, when it comes to the online version, notice we do not have the option for the insert a list of figures directly in here. So that is one kind of key difference. You do have table of contents, you do have footnotes, but we don't have that. The other kind of key thing just to talk about while we're in the references tab is this manage sources. So our citation manager allows us to do a bunch of different styles. APA and IEEE are the key ones for this field and this class. I recommend that you all use IEEE for that. And you go manage sources. It opens this nice little dialog window. So you can see every single source I've ever used inside of my Outlook, my Microsoft account, which includes a bunch of stuff from like my dissertation, are stored in here. And so this is really helpful when there's things that I know I'm gonna maybe use in future papers or something like that. I would warn though that it's better to just check your source manager for every single file and use, like for your recommendation usability report, start building it in that exact file. But it keeps this master list of all your sources. And when you find one that you need to use, you can copy it into your current list, as well as delete it from your current list if you realize later you don't want to use it. When you have a new source, so you're doing research, even if you're not sure you're going to use it for the paper, hit new, and it opens up just this, easy little kind of wizard, this template window for you, and you can select, is it a journal article? It gives you red stars, which is kind of a recommended, like really you should be able to find and actually try to find all of the red star information. They should be readily available, and they have a whole lot of different ones to choose from. If you're never sure or it doesn't fit, I usually just do miscellaneous, and again fill in author, title, date, where it got published, maybe like the URL as the key elements. Hit OK, and it would show up in your list. Close. So once I have that in there, also in our references tab is where we have this option for a bibliography as well as inserting citations. So the insert citations gives you a drop down of your sources, and you're able to click that and it inserts your in-text citation for you right away. And then you can delete it as well. So, and to type a sentence. Information. At the end of my sentence, I can do insert citation, hit that, and it adds it there for me. At the end of my document, when I'm ready for my references, this also allows you to do that built-in kind of works cited or references list. Works cited is usually more of like a MLA language. You can just use the references is fine. And notice, right, it puts that exact reference for your managed sources in here for you. If you were to swap, so you wanted to do APA instead of IEEE, notice that it updates and everything right there for you with the style that you're selecting. So a huge time saver, super important as you're adding content. In terms of the online version, there is the citations, but there is not the same integrated citation manager. So you will have to add an add-in. I would recommend RefWorks. Mendeley is recommended by the UCCS library and it is strong. The only problem that I've had with Mendeley is it doesn't support IEEE, at least in the older versions, maybe it does now. RefWorks, I have been able to cite things in IEEE. And so you'll just have to add those extensions. It doesn't have the built-in tools for you. So get used to using the references tab, build your citation list as you go. So again, if I go back to manage sources and I have another article that I have used, it will tell you, one, have you actually cited it in your work or did you forget about it? That's what that kind of means there. And when you hit close, then as you go here and update, right, it updates your list for you. When you need to cite something again, right, it updates it here automatically for you, just to make everything honestly a lot easier. If you are using IEEE and if your sequence ever gets messed up, so you realize, oh, I actually need to cite this one next, sometimes, right, then this didn't get updated, so it duplicates the numbers. Just go ahead and toggle it to literally any other kind of citation. And then when you toggle it back, it kind of fixes and updates the sequencing for you. Next key ribbon to pay attention to is going to be our design tab with all of our tools here. And so we have the design tab on desktop. Notice there is no design tab in the web version. Instead, they just have a condensed version of styles, but not the full design. Also note that designer is not the same as a design tab. This kind of puts more big picture kind of templates that you can apply and themes to your document, but it's not quite the same level of customization as our true design tab. Instead, you see your themes over here, which is kind of similar to what it's doing there. And so inside of our design tab is where you will universally across your document be able to control your color styles. So you can pick something, right, that is more suited and comfortable to your topic. For example, grayscale gets a little bit light with contrast. We'll see that in a second, but is, very standard, professional. You can never really go wrong with grayscale, especially if you expect to print it. You can customize your colors here. For example, I have my kind of specific style that I have created that I like to use that has custom colors for UCCS and then my own kind of personal palette. And notice how it updated every time I change the colors, it updates any headings automatically. And so you can make your own little color palette and think about how those styles will help your readers or not. Same with fonts, you can update the fonts here instead of having to highlight and change every single thing. So I update and now it goes to Courier New, which is what I like to use because it reminds me of a typewriter and feels good for my personal brand. And you are not able to do that level of customization directly inside of the desktop of the online version. And so with our design tab kind of set up, the big thing is in our home, we want to adjust styles. This is available in desktop or in online. So with the styles, what we can do, we have our table of contents, right, that has nothing in it right now. So if I go ahead and enter, this can be maybe, right, a heading, heading 1, and I'm just going to copy and duplicate that just a couple times so that way you can kind of see. And then maybe underneath, right, our heading 1A, we can have a, subheading, heading 2. When we go into our styles, and you see how it corresponds here. So we would tag, okay, this is a heading 1, heading 1. This is a subheading, so we would tag it as a heading 2, meaning it is a subtopic under this main heading. And then we can have another heading 1 here. Notice there's also a bunch of styles for like quotes and emphasis that you will be able to use and play with in your documents. Same thing over on this side. Highlight and your tools are right here under styles, and you'll just tag things as your heading 1. Oh, that was a heading 1, a heading 2, and a heading 1. All right, so what we have done, if you click on View in Desktop, I really recommend this because I think it's really helpful. You can actually where is it? Show navigation pane. And now you can actually see your different headings and nested subheadings. So as you are working on your documents, as you create your headings as you go, this makes it really easy to kind of jump to the page. So you can imagine if we're on a 10-page report, instead of scrolling through 8 pages, you can just use this to toggle between your main headings. And on the web view, you can also do that as well with the view and the navigation, and it shows up right here for you. The other reason, besides the navigation pane, is for our automatic table of contents. So now that we actually have headings tagged, we click and say Update Table. Our table with the correct page numbers gets updated right away. Same over here, we just refresh and now it knows. So the way to get your automatic table of contents is always to make sure you tag your headings correctly and keep your document really neat and organized. Within the Design tab, we also are able to change the overall style of tagged headings, again, kind of universally. So pay attention to how these look. As I kind of filter through options, you see it automatically updates it, so you don't have to go through and do the paintbrush kind of copy tool. It just automates that process so you can feel confident and know that your content is actually following the all the right kind of consistency and standards. And we don't have a design tab in the online version. And so instead, if you want to kind of make these changes, you'll have to click on one of your headings and go down into, you can either create a new selection or you can basically like edit these. So on heading 1, you will be able to kind of update it. So what I'm going to do, let's say I want it to kind of match that. So I would highlight my headings. I'll have to go into my font and change, right, the color here, and maybe I want them underlined. Then when I click on this, I can right click. I see my like little heading bar, and we can create, and we can update to match. And so now you can see every heading 1 successfully updated for this document. So it's just a little bit more kind of work than some of these automatic pre-formatted ones. But you can also do the same thing that we just did over here in desktop. So if you want it to be a very specific kind of style, and so maybe, I don't know, we want all of these to actually be italics, right? I can do that, then go to my styles. And when I sort of apply, I have all these options to modify where I can go in and say, okay, I want all of them to be italics. I can change the color, I can change the weight, hit OK, and then it kind of updates it. So then if I had another subheading 2A, if I go into here, go back, heading 2, or you can see that it updates. And since I have a new heading, I can update my table. And now my new subheading shows up there as well. So you will definitely be using your headings in a lot of different documents. Save yourself time. Don't mess around with this little paintbrush tool that is like, no, 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 no. I want you to use the design tab to automate and make sure things are really consistent and be able to specifically tag your things correctly so your table of contents works. Right, our next key ribbon is going to be our insert. And this is where, right, we get all of our kind of visuals and key things for your documents. And so the biggest differences here is that insert on the desktop has more options, including SmartArt graphics. And so you are able to do things with SmartArt, just kind of automated, cycles, hierarchies, relationship kind of stuff. So you don't have to do quite as much work there. And for definitely this class and a lot of writing you do probably in your career fields, the pre-formatted smart arts are going to be absolutely fine. So you can do type 1 and notice how it's kind of automatically resizing for us. Type 2, type 3, and then you can also kind of go through and do some additional like light formatting on it, and it will always follow the structure of your overall design tab and theme. So this is just an easy way to make sure everything is kind of on brand, on theme. You can change the colors of any smart art up here. That again reflects whatever design styles you have in place. If you wanted to change the type of graphic, it is also super easy to just do that. So that's one way to very quickly get some more like info design kind of graphics super quickly pre-formatted. That is not an option or a tool in the online version. The next key tool in our insert tab is going to be things like our tables. And so with the, let me delete that. With the table tool, we are able to draw, right, a table, so you can kind of see it creating, formatting there, or there's some insert tools as well. On the online version, we just basically draw tables, but not too bad. So if I had these names, I would have to go through in the online version and kind of copy and paste them all in, which is a little bit of a bummer that we won't be able to just do it automatically. However, if you have a list of things in the desktop version, you can in fact highlight it, hit table, convert text to table, and do some of your formatting, tell it where to separate the content, in this case commas, and hit OK. And notice now all of our names are already formatted there. In my table design tab and the layout tab is where you can customize everything. So under layouts, I could do insert above, not 3 though, just highlight 1, layout, insert above, and now I could do my headings, right? Last name, first name, and under the table design is where we can, again, all of these pre-format ones are absolutely fine and acceptable for the type of work that we're doing and that you're, kind of doing in this class. But for online, there isn't that tool, so you do have to kind of copy it in yourself. Back to insert, pictures, pretty explanatory. You just insert from your device or stock images. We also have all of your icons that you can use, different symbols from their stock icons. Here's our stock image library. And note, as a 365 subscriber, as a student, we already have copyrights, and you don't even have to cite it. I mean, you certainly can, but all of it is actually just covered as long as you're using it inside of the 365 platform. And so there's all sorts of things, some of them probably aren't super appropriate for your project since we are being in a more technical professional sphere, but some of them absolutely might be useful symbols to help draw attention and clarify a lot of your key points. So absolutely explore those tools. The online version has the same device and stock image library as well. But note, when you open the stock image library, we have cutouts and stickers, but we're missing shapes, right? We're missing kind of icons. But also, we're not actually missing shapes and icons. So kind of the weird thing, or just different thing, that actually is a little bit nicer about the online version, is we can click on this drawing tab here, and it opens up a canvas that has our shapes and our text boxes, and then even freehand drawing tools built in for us that will create kind of one graphic. So if I grab like a picture and insert it here, Then I can go back to, I can freehand draw if I want to highlight something. I can go to the insert and I could do something like a shape. So I could grab a circle. And then we have our kind of shape formatting. So I might, change the fill, adjust the weight and the outline to help draw a lot more attention to it. Now maybe I make it like a bolder color. And then I can even go to things like a text box, add that here, be like pollinator, honeybee, right? And label, right, what it is that's being highlighted. And you can, even do arrows, all that kind of stuff to help make your labels and just your content that much clearer for the audience. And so once you like finish all of that kind of stuff, you save and close, and it inserts it as basically one image. And so that part is a little bit nicer about the online version. If we try to do and we want to do the same thing in desktop, on one hand we have like even more options, but also it can be a little bit more difficult in some ways. And so let's say right here, we would go into our pictures and I grab it from the device. And let me go back to where is my downloads? You grab that same photo, right? Notice it also already inserts it like a lot bigger, but you just drag and drop to adjust and resize things, like no stress. And then from here is where we would go back to our insert tab. I can grab my shapes, so I can have that same circle, highlight, shape format, all of that's the same, just like a little bit different. And so I would want to say no fill. Again, change the weight, change the border colors just to kind of match. Go back to insert, hit my shapes where I can grab all the same shapes exist. The layout just might be a little bit different. And go back through, same kind of things there. And insert one more time. Text boxes live over here. You have all these other options. Honestly, I never mess with these. They are more of a headache than a help. Just go straight down to draw text box so you get your free form. Draw it right on there. And now, right, I can type that in and resize and kind of drag. So it's the same outcome. It is kind of nice that this now is one basically kind of little canvas image, where all of these are separate kind of assets that you just have to be mindful of if you need to resize group. Sometimes it can be a little bit messier there. The last key thing that you'll use a lot, or you should use, is going to be our charts area. And so we can actually insert right straight from the desktop version a chart. They have all the different chart types. I don't really mess around too much with these, but you might find that use case for a lot of the stuff you'll be reporting in this class. It's going to be basic. Your basic charts are fine, but you can kind of cycle through. Again, stay away from any of the 3D options because they're all flash and make it harder to actually understand the content and often distort the material. Hit OK, and it opens up, it inserts our little chart and opens up a miniature kind of Excel sheet basically directly kind of tied here. So you don't have to mess with full kind of Excel. As you update these categories, it will update on your chart kind of automatically. It could be like thing 1, thing 2, and notice how it is, right? Updating the categories there. Series A, and now it's changed to Series A, whatever you type in. As you change your data, right, it is also going to change the data and the scale and everything for you. Inside of here, you have your chart design tool, so play around with all of these. Same kind of warning. This looks kind of cool, but is actually harder to read, and so I just stick with nice simple ones. Because that's kind of just technical professional writing, making sure it's very clear. But you can, add new elements if you do, need some sort of like trend lines, anything like that. The colors are going to follow the color patterns from your overall document design. So again, use the design tab to save time and make sure everything is really cohesive and consistent. But if you really need to change like individual series, you're just like, I do not want this to be green, you can highlight the series and you are able to select from whatever colors and color palette that you want to. And it does kind of save and update inside of your, based on your design tab. There is not the option to insert charts in the online version. So you would have to build your chart in Excel and then kind of copy it over. We just have our picture, our drawings, and then our equations, kind of symbols, but not that option. So the last thing with images, if we recall up here, we had created this table of figures and table list of figures and list of tables, no entries found. That's because we need to go back to the references tab and insert some captions onto it. And so anytime you have, right, figures, you want to just go insert caption and it knows, okay, this is figure 1. And then you could do your label and write the caption for, figure 1. Oops, 1. And we hit OK. You can write as long of a caption as necessary, and in fact, it's good for our field if you expand and write a lot of the caption, but it's going to mess up your kind of table of figures. So when we update this, say update field, right, it recognizes here's my figure 1, which is great. But if we just wanted to have label and then maybe a couple sentences after that, we would need to hit enter and then kind of go back to where that break is and hit Control Alt enter. It knows how it snaps back up. And so it kind of looks visually, it'll kind of look like just one continuous section, but we actually created a hidden section break. So when we update now our list over here, update the field, right, it only pulls the label. So anything before the hidden section break, visually, we don't see it, but on the back end, we actually did basically create this is no longer a caption in terms of what Microsoft, the Word program, is seeing for its styles. And how I got these little paragraphs are just in your paragraph, hit that mark, and it just shows you any hidden symbols that's going on. And so you can go through and do that for all of your images. It's just insert, and then you go, references, go into your caption. Notice it knows this is now figure 2, maybe, and then you would have more information, do your breaks. For tables, caption, change the drop down to be a table, and now it knows that this is table 1, names. And again, you would do your hidden break and continue on with your caption. And last, this is a figure because it is a chart and it's, the chart of stuff. Hit OK. And now when we go back up, we can update our list again, update field, and it has all of the figures, right, that we tagged with their page numbers. Hit the list of tables, update the field, and it has our tables with the captions and the page numbers. So instead of having to do all of this by hand, which takes a really long time, and you are more likely, obviously, to have an error, miscount the pages or something, it just does it for you as long as you've done your captions correctly. Online does not have a caption tool, so you would have to do those completely manually using text boxes and then create your list yourself. Super time consuming, probably not going to look that great, way more effort than necessary. So in that case, save all of your captions for kind of the end of your project. Go to the library where you can open your files on the library computer with the desktop app, and then run through all of those at the end. Almost done, but there is one other key thing that you will often use in technical documents that you need to know how to do in Word, which is how to make one page be landscape orientation instead of portrait. So often, especially if we have tables or like a big image, it's not going to fit kind of properly on, one page. And so you might want to have a single page be a different orientation. And so we have to do that with what we call a section break, which is different than a page break. And a section break allows us to adjust literally just that section. And so what we are gonna have to do is over here, we'll go to our layout tab over here. And in the layout tab is, yes, you can adjust your margins, all that kind of normal stuff. Notice we have our orientation here. If you were to do it right now, it changes every single page into landscape, which is terrible for reading, terrible for printing, like also just not standard. And so you don't want to do that. You just want one specific kind of page. So let's say we want this one. So I'm going to change back to portrait, kind of our normal page layout people expect. And what I'm going to do is go into breaks. Hit the drop down, ignore the page breaks, that is something kind of different. Look at section breaks specifically. And so with the section break here, I could do, okay, new section break, which will start it on the next page. So now here's one section, here's my second section. Right? And then I have like this is all part of the second section. So at the end of the page where I want that break to end, let's say we want heading 1 to start on the next page. Right. I just want to do that. So I'll go back into my layout and I can do another break, new section starting on the next page. Boom. So now this is all one specific section. Now, if we go back to orientation, so I'm on that key page, orientation, landscape. Notice it just updated that single section. See that? So that is how you can get, if you've ever wondered how do people do that, that is exactly how people do it. The section breaks is also how you will get the page number formatting to be different. And so if I wanted right that middle section just to kind of show you to have different page numbers. When I go into my insert tab and I go into the page number options, let's put it on here. That's fine, right? It's page 2 because that's kind of the normal. So from here, page numbers, we can format the page numbers. We don't want it to continue from the previous section. You would just say for this section, start at wherever you want it to start. Also make it A so it's easy for you to see. Hit OK. And notice this section is on A. Now this section goes back to 2. So that is how people do Roman numerals for their front matter and different kind of page number looks for the others. So if I update my table, now we can see, right, heading 1 happens on page A, because that's kind of how I said it. Imagine this is your front matter, page A, and then numbers kind of start after that. And anytime you're having a hard time, like your page numbers seem off, you just want to go to your page number format and you can tell it where you want it to start. So let's say this is actually page 1 because all of this was your front matter. And then you can even adjust this since it's also a different section, page number, and you could like remove the page number. Oops, I had them linked. We'll gotta go back. But you can go in and format your page numbers and sort of just mess around with all of that kind of stuff, which is really helpful. Okay, so that basically you just need to go into layout, use section breaks to format specific pages, sections of your document in different kinds of ways. On the online version, it's harder. It's kind of like not exactly the same. So the layouts you can see are like kind of all different, sort of going that way. So if in my layout tab, right, we do have an option for things like landscape, but yet it just does all of them as landscape. So we have that same issue. I notice that there is not the kind of area to do right these types of breaks and like section breaks. So that is another thing that you will just have to turn to the desktop version in order to get your section breaks in place and be able to, yeah, make those updates, because otherwise we only have a page break, and a page break is not the same thing as a section break. The very final thing in Word that you should know about is just how to save and export your documents, especially. And so we want to do just a couple of things. First, in our review tab, we do have proofing. So obviously make sure that you use your editor. Before you turn in anything, it'll give you a score. It should be at least 90, like get it up to 90. And you do that by fixing mainly, right, these spelling grammar corrections. And then you can go through and these have a little bit more wiggle room on it. You can check things like your document stats, which will just give you, word count kind of stuff, as well as reading score, which can help you. Right, if our situation is for an external audience, you should have an easier reading level. If it's like the big report at the end of the semester that's made for kind of more technical stakeholders, you should have a harder reading level because you wrote at a higher level. So make sure you do the editor, and that is available in both desktop and the online version. Go to review, we have editor right there. Online version also has Turnitin that should be preloaded for you as a special UCCS student thing. So you can open your draft coach, and basically it will kind of give you like tips and feedback. And I'm like not logged in as to the right kind of draft coach, but basically you'll just log in with your student kind of stuff. And oh, there it goes. Hit the get feedback, logs you in, make sure you're a UCCS student. Here's our license. And then, yeah, citations, grammar guide. You can just use that as a spell check as well. Draft Coach is only available online though. Also in the review tab, some kind of key things is just check accessibility. We will get into this heavily during the accessibility unit and chapter, but do be aware of it. It will let you know when things like alt text are missing, if your contrast is not very good as well. And so if you are experimenting with more like colors and you're not sure, it will literally warn you, hard to read contrast, which the UCCS Gold, that happens a lot. And then it will even give you options of what contrast is going to work better with it. And so that makes it really easy to change. So be aware of a lot of these tools and options, and we will kind of swing back to it in the digital accessibility chapter. But until we get to there, just kind of be aware, especially if you're worried about your color choices. All right, so when you're ready to save your work, you'll go into File, and I personally, instead of do save as Adobe PDF directly, you can, and it is the same outcome, though sometimes that process will crash for me. So I recommend just doing the Save As feature, and then from the drop down, selecting the PDF file. And it will also give you this warning of like, hey, there's accessibility things to consider. And you'll just kind of go through and just kind of check on that, and we'll learn more about it. From here, File, and you will Save As. And you can use the export, but I just find the Save As works like faster and better. And for this, you will need to download as a PDF. If something goes wrong, you're doing your final proof and you realize my images got messed up, like just it's not working for you, the other option is to actually go to Print. And when you print, instead of selecting an actual printer, select an Adobe PDF. And what this is basically doing is creating a PDF instead of converting your Word file to a PDF format, which is where sometimes the formatting gets messed up or like a font is disabled or something. This is basically creating the PDF of your print preview. So it's kind of more of a flattened static document. If you don't have any like hyperlinks or things that we expect people to follow, which for formal reports is definitely more common. We don't really expect people to actually like be clicking and interacting necessarily. This print as a PDF, print to Adobe PDF, is a great option just to remember to preserve exactly like whatever it looks like in the print preview is what the PDF will become if you have any issues. But that's how you're going to get the PDFs to basically save almost all of your written content and what you'll be submitting to Canvas this semester. All right, that wraps up. I know this was a little bit long, but there's just a lot of kind of hidden-ish things in Word that you maybe didn't use before, but I definitely expect you to use now this semester. And as we go through labs and things, we will play around with these tools more specifically as they relate to your projects, but you'll basically use a combination of all of those tools and things for a variety of your work. Great job, associates. Continue with your lab.